Hi everyone, I hope all of you guys are doing well. So today I'm going to go through 6 things that I personally used when I was preparing for UPSC that helped me to study even when I was not feeling like studying. A lot of times what happens is we lose our consistency, we lose our productiveness, we feel distracted, and what we feel is that there is a huge mountain of things that we have to study in front of us. We feel like there are so many subjects to cover. There is polity, economy, there is current affairs, there is newspapers. So whenever you feel this way, whenever you feel there's too much to study, there is not enough time you have, there is not enough energy you have, try to follow these 6 things, and I'm very sure that these 6 things will help you to figure out a lot of things and maybe develop your own techniques. If you have any techniques, share with me in the comment section, and let's now dive into those 6 things that I'm going to tell you about today. First thing that I want to tell you about this is that you have to start looking at things differently. You have to change your mindset a little bit. See, there is two ways of looking at things. One is, oh wow, I have so many things to cover. I have to cover economics, history, geography. There are so many books, there is so much material. I don't even know where to start. So you see everything as an obstacle in front of you. That is one way to think about it. When you see everything as an obstacle in front of you, what happens is then it becomes very difficult to cross those obstacles because you are focusing on the negative. You are focusing on the fact that there are too many obstacles in front of you. So you have to tweak your mindset a little bit. You have to think positively. You have to think about what are the things that you can achieve. You have to change your mindset. You have to think like, okay, I have a few subjects to cover. The first thing that I'm going to cover is polity, or the first thing that I'm going to cover is economics. And even from that particular subject, you can think, okay, today I'm going to sit down and study this one particular topic from economics and I'm going to finish it. This change in mindset, what it happens you to do is it takes away your focus from obstacles, and then you're always trying to think, oh, there will be another bigger obstacle next, there will be another bigger obstacle next after that. So instead of that, now you're actually shifting your focus to something different, which is, okay, I have to study this particular subject, this particular topic. And when you focus on that target, when you focus on that positive achievable goal, then what happens is you actually start achieving those little smaller goals, and this small tweak in your mindset can make something which seems to be much bigger, much more difficult to achieve, to be much smaller. इसके लिए, for this I'm going to give you a small example. Let's say some of you might have done trekking in your life. You might have gone to trek in the mountains in Himalaya or in some other ranges in Sahyadri or somewhere. When you start your trekking, you can see, sometimes you can see, okay, I have to go for another 7-8 hours to actually finally reach my destination. You might be doing multi-day trekking also, but the destination is very far, right? You don't know where it is. There is a particular point you have to reach, but you have never seen it before. But do you keep thinking that, oh, I have so many mountains to cross in front of me, I have so many rivers to cross in front of me? You don't think that. You go hour by hour, day by day, and you enjoy that process. You go with your friends, you walk with them. Even though it might get tough at times, you take a rest and then you keep going ahead, and eventually you reach your point, you reach your destination. So similarly in UPSC, your target is actually very big. You have to finish all these different subjects, and they are like this kind of part of this journey, small targets that you will have to finish along this journey, and eventually you will have to reach the final part of the journey, which is finishing the entire syllabus. So this, if you keep thinking about the final part, that I have to go through all these obstacles along the way, then it will become very difficult to walk even for 1 hour, to finish your subject, study for even for 1 hour. So what you have to do is you have to focus on small steps. So changing of this mindset, it seems simple, but I'm focusing so much on it because it is the most important thing. You have to change your mindset, and instead of looking at obstacles, you have to look at things that you can get done. And once you start getting those things done, it will become so much easier. It will become a habit for you to actually study for long hours. The second technique that I wanted to talk to you about was nothing mental, but something that you can actually do on a daily basis. Whenever you start a book, whenever you start reading a book, any kind of, it could be anything, Singhani economy book, it could be a polity Lakshmikant book, it could be answer writing book, it could be anything. When you are reading a book, always try to go through the table of contents first, and try to go through the back chapter exercise first before reading the chapter. Now what this does is, this helps you to understand what are the most important things you have to study. So when you go through these important text questions at the back of the chapters, or you go through this table of contents or the index, it makes your much it automatically wires your brain to thinking about these targets that you have finished, and you start scrolling. Once you start doing them one by one, it becomes even much more clear that actually reading carefully this table of contents, this index, and the back exercises is actually the most important, one of the most important parts of your entire studying process. So whenever you are studying, when you are sitting down to study, definitely do that. Go through the table of contents once properly, try to understand them, try to visualize them, and then after that you jump into the proper reading of the chapter. Now the third one, the third technique that I used to always do is, whenever you're not feeling like studying, you don't want to study that day, just sit down and try to study for at least 10 to 15 minutes. When you sit down and commit yourself for 10-15 minutes, then what happens is then your brain starts, churning the wheels of actually going deeper and deeper into that topic. Try to pick up something interesting, but sit down for 10 to 15 minutes, draw a few diagrams, do some mundane things like write a few notes, look at some keywords. Just do it for 10-15 minutes and you will see the big difference, that you will break this chain when you're not feeling like studying, and you will actually go ahead and start studying. The fourth one I would like to tell is something that I used to do very often was, give yourself a challenge that I will finish, instead of 3 chapters, I will finish 4 chapters today. And if I finish 4 chapters, then I will go and I will treat myself to a cookie, or I will treat myself to a ice cream, or I will treat myself to an episode of some show that you like. So that what that does is that actually wires your brain to keep rewarding yourself when you are achieving certain number of goals, and that way you will be very motivated to achieve your goals. So that is one technique I used to, but don't overuse it, because if you overuse this technique, then what happens is then it will become a routine thing and your brain will not recognize the rewards anymore. It will become a habit for it. Don't do it on a daily basis. Only do it on days when you're feeling extremely tired or you don't feel like studying, you're unproductive. If you don't want to take a break, you want to continue studies, think about rewarding yourself upon achieving a small goal. The fifth technique that I would like to tell you is that try to change the activity, or try to break the routine that you have and try to start a little bit of a new routine in order to make your brain a little refreshed. For example, if you have been reading history for the past 10 days, try to break that and try to introduce something else. Try to read maybe economics, or try to read maybe polity, or instead of reading, try to just take a few tests, try to write a few answers, do answer writing practice, try to do some prelims mock tests, or try to do some kind of previous year questions for prelims. What that will do is that will break the monotony that you have been facing for the last few days, and it will rewire your brain, and your brain will start thinking of these new things to do, and it will become more energized. So I used to do this when I used to get bored and when I used to get unproductive because I was reading for a long time. I would switch to taking tests, or viewing a lecture or video on YouTube, some good one that you like, taking a test. Or if you're taking tests for the last few days, then you can switch to reading. So like this changing of activities, it changes your momentum. It helps to even fasten your momentum, or to better it. And most of all, it helps you to break the monotony that you're facing. The sixth and the last thing that I want to tell you today is walking. I feel like walking for me was one of those things that I loved doing in the evenings after I had studied for long, long hours. And even during this walking time, I used to think about various subjects that I was had studied on that day. I used to revise in my mind my optional, the GS subjects that I had done. And this walking used to be a way for me to not only physically move myself, but what used to happen is that blood flow used to start in my body. It used to reach my brain, reach all the parts of my body, and I used to feel better. I used to feel physically energized, I used to feel mentally energized, and I used to feel like I was giving a lot of deep thought, recalling, revising things in my mind. That way I used to remember things also for the longer time. So walking, and while walking, thinking about what you have accomplished that day in the past few days, if you are able to recall some important topics, important concepts that you've studied, what that does is it really refreshes you. And on the same side, I would like to say that while you're walking, please don't use your phone, please don't watch videos. Maybe you can listen to music, but please don't if you want to talk to someone, talk to some friends about the preparation or something else, you can do that also, but don't try to completely waste your time doing unnecessary activities when you're walking, especially watching videos. Instead of that, you should walk properly. You should walk for 5-6 kilometers, physically kind of tire yourself out a little bit. That is important. Sweat nicely, but at the same time, you should also be recalling things, trying to remember things that you've studied, trying to make sense of things, concepts that you might have studied. If you're getting stuck at some concepts, try to relate it with real life and think about that in that way. And that way you will be really be able to utilize this time and you will be feeling refreshed. So these are the 6 things that I used to do quite often when I was preparing, and these things helped me to continue to study whenever, even if I was not feeling like studying, continue to be more consistent, continue to be more dedicated and more productive in my studies. So if you have any questions, let me know. I honestly believe that all of you are capable of cracking any exam you want. But what all it takes is a lot of hard work, a lot of smart work. It requires you to be having a lot, it requires you to have a presence of mind, and it requires you to take the right advice, use your own brain to figure out what works for you, and then use it in the exams. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Happy to help you. Thanks. Bye bye.